Welcome into another episode of Inside Wyoming Cowboys Athletics here on WyomingAthletics.org and ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports. My name is Jason Griefer. Normally, we're joined by Wyoming assistant AD Jeff King today, but he had some other business to take care of. So we found quite a pinch hitter here today, and that is Wyoming Athletic Director Jan Wilking, who's joining us here once again, kind of a throwback edition here of the podcast. Jan, good to have you on and good to talk to you once again here, and got a lot of really good stuff to talk about here on the podcast. So let's jump right into it, and let's talk about cross country first. Just finishing up the CHL championships over the weekend. The boys finished fourth in the league. The girls wound up finishing second. So really strong performances all the way around from individuals as well as the teams. How did you feel about the day for the runners there? I know conditions were a little iffy, if you will, given all the rain that came through the night before there, but your overall thoughts on the performances from both the girls and the boys and how they can take that going forward into the postseason.
Yeah, it was a cold day. It was probably the first cold day that really felt like fall. So that was nice from a spectator perspective, but it was windy. So I don't think any runner and any team necessarily had their best day. But the girls showed up for sure. Emma Bergman kind of led our pack along with Meredith Guest and Julia Thornton. They're poised for hopefully a really strong district run and potentially making it to the regionals and beyond. That group works really hard. It could be pouring down rain or terrible conditions, and they're always out running. So they absolutely are committed young student athletes. So look forward to seeing what they can do, certainly in the postseason. The boys are a little bit banged up. I know Nico didn't run on Saturday, but I think he'll be back ready to go for the district meet to see how he can lead the team. I think our top runner was Malachi O'Leary, who is a heck of a wrestler in his off season of cross country. So yeah, we'll see what they do going forward.
Let's move on. Let's talk about your golf teams here. Let's talk about the boys, and getting all the way to state is no small task, and they got there, and not only get there, they show well. They finished fifth in the state in large part, and we've talked about it before, freshman Finley Bartlett, just what a season he had. He shoots 65 in the sectional on an 18-hole course, not 9, 18. I would be beyond that on a 9-hole. Shoots 70 at the districts, and then gets to state finishes 10th. Oh, by the way, he's a freshman.
Yeah.
So, yes, and leading the way. And we also saw Jack Webb, another freshman, finishing 26th in the state. So I'm just wondering, given the fact that you've had such a strong season from Finley, what did Coach Webb have to say about the team getting to state, and then also Finley's season in general and where he can go in the next 3 years?
He is a special golfer. The golf is such a mental sport, and paired with obviously the physical training that you need. But for a 15-year-old, he is one of the most mentally tough young people that I've seen in 18 years of doing this. So I'm excited to see what the future brings for both him and Jack. Coach Webb was really excited to get to state. I think he thought individually maybe some students could make it, but the fact that we got there and as a team, and not only got there but finished fifth, speaks, I think, some of our senior leadership stepping up and having a great outing. Clay Van Fossen and Connor Madden for sure definitely chipped in and had some really great rounds to get us there. So excited for where the golf team is headed.
Over on the girls' side, a third straight CHL championship. So they continue to set the bar for future programs. Of course, going to lose a few pieces off of this program this year. Maddie McMonigal graduating, Lily Marty, Izzy Vey, and of course, Samara Doolin, who was, as good of a golfer in the CHL as there was this season. Can you just kind of talk about the career that Samara has had? Obviously this year having to do it at Wyoming without her sister Sophia, so that's a little different for her, but just her adjustment there, and then ultimately what she was able to do on the course this year, and what kind of legacy she leaves at Wyoming.
She's had quite a 4-year career. I think in the beginning of her career, she was more of a role player, certainly one of our top golfers, but had those outstanding golfers kind of in front of her to help carry some of the load. And it was neat to see this year her take over that leadership role and take over that number one spot. and really bring others along with her. So I think she leaves a tremendous legacy here, and just what a great leader that she's been and going to continue to be, and working with some of our younger golfers to continue the trend of what's become a pretty successful girls golf program.
Yeah, as you said, three straight league championships. That's a heck of a way to leave Wyoming high school, but a great career there for her nonetheless. Let's switch gears. Let's move on to the pitch, and let's talk about our girls soccer program, finishing third in the in the CHL, but 10-3-3 overall. So 4 straight years with double-digit wins. You like to see that consistency year over year, and they continue to deliver in that regard. They now turn to the postseason as a 4 seed, getting McNick in the first round. That's actually going to be played tonight, Monday night, and that match is being played at Finneytown. So Cowboys fans, keep that in mind. If you want to check out this match, you're going to have to go over to Finneytown to check out this matchup here. We look at the way things set up as far as the bracket goes going forward, and of course the team's not looking past McNick here tonight, but we look ahead and you cannot help but see a potential matchup in a sectional final with Summit down the road. Obviously, everybody knows how strong of a program Summit is year in and year out. And so I'm wondering, as we head in to the postseason, how the girls are feeling about their play as of late, and also the possibility that we can see that sectional final show up there with Summit down the road.
I think the girls are feeling really good about where they are in terms of the way the season ended. I mean, they had to go over to Madeira and play the last conference match that they won in amazing fashion. I think Coach said it was one of the best games that they played all year. Finishing up with CCD, who's a perennial state power, playing them tough. In terms of the tournament, I mean, yeah, everybody looks at the bracket and says, gosh, Summit or Taylor. I don't think anybody's looking 1 minute past what we need to do tonight at Finneytown against McNick. And if we're even fortunate enough to get through that game, the next one would set up to be against Taylor, who we lost to during the regular season. So I think it's definitely one game at a time, but I do believe, our students are really focused and look forward to tonight, and then that possible matchup on Thursday, which they'll be back at Wyoming.
Over on the boys' side, another double-digit win season for them. They finished tied for the second in the CHL, just one conference loss, but finishing second there. An overall mark of 12-2-2. That gets them a 2 seed in the sectional in the South, and they're going to take on Blanchester in round 1, who has not won a match on the season. You look at the way things set up here again, and your team is an overwhelming favorite to get to the districts and get out of this sectional. As you've seen this team play, especially as of late, obviously a tight 2-1 loss to Carroll to close out the regular season, but going into that match, they've been playing as well as anybody in Greater Cincinnati, if not the state of Ohio, both offensively and defensively. But now, of course, the postseason's here, and it's one and done if you don't take care of business against Blanchester. As you've seen this program and this team develop this season, what is your realistic expectation for how far they can go, given the draw and how they've been playing?
Wow, you're going to set me up there. I think they're going to go as far as they believe that they can continue to be successful. The thing that makes this team so dangerous and so much fun to watch is if statistically you look at any of the categories in the CHL in the city, I don't think we have a leader in one of them. And so, they truly embody that team attitude. Any one night, somebody can score 2 or 3 goals, or somebody else can do it. And so I think that's what makes them exciting. That's what makes them dangerous. And when you put in, the ability for them to score from so many different positions, I think that, we're going to take it one game at a time, but yeah, there's definitely some looking down the road that goes on. I think we'll see.
You said absolutely. This is such a well-balanced team, and I'm looking at some of the numbers. Owen Vickers leads your team in scoring with 10, but then you have 3 players with 7, one with 5 goals, Ethan Hatcher with 4 goals, a couple of others with 3. How much more difficult do you think that makes it for opponents to prepare for your team when they see the tape And there's not one particular number in blue and white they can point at and say, we have to take him out, because if we take him out, it gives us a really good shot to win, because you have so many different players, and almost everyone that has seen varsity action this year has put the ball in the net.
I think that, as a coach, that is, you always look to try to, neutralize the other team's most outstanding player or a top couple players. But when you don't have that outstanding, they're all outstanding. When you don't have that one that if you shut down, it kind of stops the mojo of the team, it's difficult to prepare. So that, again, that's what I think makes this team so dangerous in the tournament.
We've got so many multiple goal scorers on the season, but so many guys with multiple assists on the year. And I think it's also plays into that unselfishness that makes them so hard to defend. So we'll be curious to see how far they can go, but it seems like, all systems firing right now. And it's on paper, they're set up for a long run, but of course you still got to play the matches, and they'll start with Blanchester. Absolutely. Start with Blanchester and see where we go from there. Let's talk about your tennis team now. And they just finished up here recently. Sydney Evans reaching the district championships. That's good there to get one out of the sectionals into the districts. We look at the way, though, this team is shaping up for the long term. And of course, getting to the districts is no small task, as good as this sectional is around the area. But you have a lot of players to replace going into next year, and Sydney is going to be one of them there. I look at the roster, and something like 7 seniors you're losing off of this year's team going forward. A heck of a run this senior class has had. So I'm wondering what that is going to be like for the coaching staff to try to build out, then fill out the rest of the roster for next season and have a full varsity roster, number one, but also number two, for your returners that you're going to have back, have them continue to take that next step. And so that going into next year, you're going to be up there and be able to challenge a team like a Marymount, and of course, always Indian Hill.
Yeah, it'll be, they'll have their work cut out for them for sure. This senior class is an interesting dynamic. Certainly Sydney is the leader of the pack in terms of play and ability, but some of these students, this is their first year playing tennis or their second year playing tennis. So really had a lot of growth from the time they started to the time they finished up. They absolutely have a lot of fun when they're out on the court. They're learning just as some of the underclassmen are. But I think for the underclassmen, the potential and opportunity should be exciting. I mean, there's a lot of open slots, and those who get after it this summer and in the off season and work, there's going to certainly be opportunity for them to play. So it'll be exciting to see.
As we said, got to wait and see what happens there, and I'll be curious to see the development of the young players, how much they embrace having to step in to a varsity role next year, because that's not an easy thing to step into. As we said, as good as this league is, as good as this area is for quality tennis, that's for sure. Let's move on. Let's talk about your volleyball team, and I'm bored here talking about a 12th straight league championship, Jan. I got to admit to you, I'm kidding. 12 straight league titles, that is no joke, and going perfect in league play again. I think they've lost maybe like one league match during this 12-year run. But nevertheless, you win it again. You're going to be the 2 seed in the postseason behind Roger Bacon. And I think the only difference there is that Roger Bacon beat you in 5 sets back in August. I think that's the difference between being a 1 and a 2. Really negligible at this point here. But nevertheless, you're going to take on North College Hill in the opening round here. And you had the chance to bypass the opening round if you want, take a bye and just start in the second round there. What went in the decision to take this opening round match and not take the bye? And then also, how do you feel about the way the girls have been playing here and their ability to make a long, long run in the postseason, which of course has been the standard for Wyoming for so long?
Yeah, they're fun to watch. I mean, they have a ton of energy. They have a ton of team chemistry. They embody playing for each other. I mean, when I always say when I come home from a volleyball match, sometimes my ears are just ringing because everything is so intense, and their excitement is so overwhelming in a great way. In a great way. I think as far as taking that first round game and skipping the bye, I think playing is at this point in the season, just keeping that routine is important. And so I think that was the thinking there. And I think that, we played at Princeton the last couple of years. What a great facility they have. So excited to get to there and then potentially on to Kettering. But I think, again, obviously Ali Cortez is an amazing volleyball player and leads us statistically in so many ways. But again, just like boys soccer, there's so many different parts to that puzzle that that can help win a game and get a big block, have a great serve. And so they're just fun to watch.
I want to get your thoughts on this. And I talked to Jeff about this earlier in the season about how much talent you lost off of last year's team, and that so many of these players you had this year contributing were freshmen and sophomores last year. Now they're sophomores and juniors. And you mentioned Ali Cortez. She's leading the league. She won the CHL title as far as kills go by a mile, 130 more than anybody else. Bree Moy is a junior. Zoe Mayberry up there. Audrey Kleeman. I mean, I could literally list the entire roster. I can't leave out Sydney Lawrence because she'd probably throw a ball at my face or something like that. Kathleen Hinkle, the leader in assists. What's it been like for you to see a group of players like this who were so young a year ago, but got so much experience in that postseason run a year ago, step in and become more of those leaders this year? And yet the standard has not changed. And in fact, maybe for some, they've elevated the level of play for the program.
Yeah. And I think the word you use there that we use all the time is the standard. And I think that, much like the football team, which I'm sure we'll talk about it, much like this boys soccer team, much like the girls soccer team, the expectation is what it is. And I think I think some of the student pressure that they feel is we don't want to be the class that lets this down. There's an expectation, there's a standard, and the work that goes into that. I don't think there's many volleyball teams that outwork the Cowboys in the way that they attack practice every day and the way that they go about their routine. So definitely excited to see what they'll do in the postseason.
The standard doesn't change for your football program, as you alluded to, and the beat goes on for this team as you've won the last two games impressively on the road by combined margins of 89-9. So we're scoring a lot of points offensively. Nobody can seem to score on you. It just lather, rinse, repeat for this team, and the way Coach Hancock just continues to keep the ball rolling. Of course, you've got CJ Hester, who's one of the leading rushers in the state. He's one of the best runners in the state. You also have a defense that hasn't allowed more than 21 points in a game all year long. So the defense is just another year doing what they keep doing. I'm wondering, though, as we turn forward in a final regular season game against Madeira this Friday to win the league for the 6th year in a row, extend the long unbeaten streak in the league and the regular season, how does this team in your mind compare to the teams that you've had in the past, given that you're having to have a sophomore in Quade Howard be your quarterback? He's also your leader on defense as a middle linebacker, which I've talked to Jeff, and it's just nuts that a sophomore is doing both of those things. But how are you feeling about the way Quade has developed and the belief that he can be a guy that can potentially lead you all the way to the state championship? Because as of right now, you're ranked number 1 in the state.
Yeah. Quade's an amazing student athlete. His development over this year has been second to none. I guess the thing that impresses me so much that's been different this year than in years past is that mentality of next person up. CJ is having a monster year. He's an unbelievable runner, unbelievable leader. When you think about some of the injuries that we faced and some of the moving around of positions, it's been a lot. And I don't think anybody ever talks about that and that's okay. But I think that, that's been the most impressive part is, when you have an all-state linebacker break his leg in the, beginning of the season and come back, we didn't have him for the first 5 games, maybe 6 games, I can't remember, but somebody had to fill in for him on offense and defense. When you have some other season-ending injuries, there's some people that have had to step up. And that, to me, is what makes this group special, is that it truly is that next man up mentality, both for the coaches and the players. when you think about, how far can they go, what can they do? Again, it's a week by week thing. I can guarantee you the only team that they're talking about right now is Madeira. And it has to be that way, because when you're, the, whatever we are, 6-time defending champion, you get everybody's best shot. You get everybody's best shot every Friday night. And, Coach Hancock says, what does he say about take the shield and put it on your chest, because you're going to get everybody's best shot and you better be ready. That's a heavy load for kids to carry, but man, the coaches get them ready, and that's just what they do. So we'll see how far we can go.
I was just going to get your thoughts on that from Coach Hancock. Obviously, unbelievable success he's had since he's been the head coach there at Wyoming. And you talk about the ability to have that next man up mentality, which is a big thing, but then also the ability for he and his coaches to physically get those players ready to step in, on top of the fact that knowing that you are getting everyone's best shot every week. It's everybody is reaching for you in the league and beyond in the state playoffs. What can you tell us about Coach Hancock that allows him to get his players not only mentally, but physically ready to take every single team's best shot every single week?
He has an amazing staff. I mean, I see it both. I see it from many different angles. Their process in developing student athletes and young men is absolutely it's amazing. I mean, I see the growth, from kids from the time they're freshmen to the time they're seniors, not only physically, but emotionally, skill-wise, just being young men. And it truly is a process. And that when people say, like, what's the difference between, this football program and maybe another football program, the commitment to the process by the kids and the parents and the, all these other people is second to none. I think that CJ Hester could have run for 1,000 yards as a freshman. I don't think he played very much as a freshman because we had another person in front of him. And I know everybody, was saying, gosh, CJ's this amazing athlete, which he is, but there was a step in the process that had to get him to having this amazing junior year. And, people's ability to be patient with that and believe in it and trust in it is really what makes it work.
Well, and if CJ has an average night this coming weekend, he will go over 2,000 yards by the end of this, going into the playoffs. He's at 1804 right now. That's nearly double anyone else in the league to the point of the year he's had. Lastly, before I let you go here on the podcast, I wanted to get your thoughts on just kind of the entire fall season we have had, and the fact that we still are in the times we are in, as a society, and still trying to make sure we do all the right things so that we can have this opportunities to play these sports and talk about these sports here on a venue like this. And I also want to get your thoughts on the fact that it seems like, to me, from an outsider's perspective, you've had an even more resounding community support come in for your athletics programs this season. Just all of the wonderful attendance numbers we've seen from all of your sports this fall season, the soccer, the volleyball, the football, obviously all the support online for cross country, golf, tennis, and what have you. Have you gotten that sense as well, that there's maybe a renewed energy level from the Wyoming community, given the fact that we can get everybody back in and seeing all these student athletes and everything they're doing?
Absolutely. And thank goodness they're coming back. We need those $8. We didn't have any $8 last year. We were by far in the red. So thank goodness that they're back.
Yeah.
So I've said this many times. This is 2.8 miles of something that is very special. It's very unique. And the fact now that not even just adults, but our students coming back to the games, and what that means to just a student who just enjoys seeing their classmates participate in something they love has been, that's what it's all about, right? And so it's been refreshing. It's been stressful at times, and it's been, just having that. We just had homecoming and the seniors float one and they all come running down on the field. And we didn't get to do that last year. We didn't get to have that. And it was just, people are like, oh, I can't believe they're going to run on the field. I'm like, let them run, Lord, let them run all around the field. I think that things like that, those little things, it's so nice to have them back. It's so nice.
Yeah, it was fun. I was there for that night against Taylor, and seeing them run on the field, and then hearing Mr. King right next to me in the press box telling them don't run onto the field. But that youthful exuberance, you're not going to stop it. He said it
sorry,
once,
Mr.
and then
King.
he looked at us
and was like, time, and I said, "Have at it." So
he looked around like, no one's listening to me. What is going on?
That's right.
It's like,
and plus,
you can't stop them.
They haven't won a float building their entire career, so.
They celebrated, and he threw his hands up and said, "Nope, I guess I lost this battle here." But he's won many of them for sure. But nevertheless, it's fun to be able to talk about all those things again, and to be able to have that kind of exuberance back again, in the facilities, at the stadium, in the gym, and allows us to talk about it here on ventures like this. Jan, greatly appreciate you stepping in here today on the podcast, and we continue to look forward to see how many more regional or state championships you can bring home going forward.
Appreciate it. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. That is Jan Wilking, Wyoming Athletic Director, joining us here for another episode of Inside Wyoming Cowboys Athletics here on WyomingAthletics.org and ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.